Can you imagine being in the 90s, getting arrested in New York? Like, oh boy, I'm going to night court. Like I've seen the show.
And instead, they take you to Rikers Island and just, like, beat you with a pillowcase full of soap. Like, this is not what I expected at all.
Where's Harry? Howie!
Oh, you'll meet a guy named Bull, but it's going to be a very different scenario.
Welcome back, everyone, to S1E1, a show where each week we pick a different sitcom, watch just the first televised episode, and forgetting anything we might know about the future run of that show, rate it and decide if it's a show we want to greenlight or cancel. This week we're going to be talking about Night Court. Night Court went 193 episodes with 9 seasons on NBC. Today we're talking about episode 1, which is called All You Need Is Love, originally airing January 4th, 1984. So to get things started, I'm Jay Gags. With me, as always, the boys, Ferg, Joe, and Gordo. Nick should be joining us later. What's going on, guys?
Hello.
Heyo.
My wife won't do that.
Mine too.
My wife.
My wife. Do you guys ever, like, have voyeuristic sex and hope that a municipal painter will watch you and get your jollies off the whole time?
All the time, man.
No, I just hope it'll be a judge.
The judge was like, wow, that guy sucks. Eddie's out of shape. And his dick sucks. You're like, oh, man, I can hear you doing commentary. I don't want this.
So, Night Court. The original Night Court. I guess we should... I mentioned the episode in the year and everything, but original Night Court we're doing. There's now the reboot version, which I haven't checked out.
I've watched all of it, but I don't know if we can cover it because it's not really a...
It's weird.
Are the same people in it?
It's technically... It's weird. It's like a continuation, but it's considered a new thing. It's not season 10. It's...
Season 1.
So I guess
Yeah,
It's like how Fuller House is
Okay.
a continuation.
Right, yeah,
but
it's on that
own
like
thing.
line. And it's our rules. We kind of we kind of make
We
our own
do whatever
True.
we want.
I will say, though, it's good. It keeps the spirit of the original alive, and it has some of the original people, but it like makes it more modern without it being too overly modern and shitty.
I have so many questions about this show, Joe, that I hope you can answer.
Most of the original people are dead. So, I mean, there's very few original people you can even bring back.
It's mainly just John Larroquette.
Yeah, including what's his name, who just died? The bailiff.
Yeah, Richard Moll. He died a week
Yeah.
ago today.
R.I.P.
Yeah. Star of one of the greatest movies of all time, Sidekicks.
He was and he did Two-Face, right, in the Batman animated series.
Yeah.
Yes.
He did,
So
he did tons of work.
We lost Batman and Two-Face within kind of close quarters of one another.
Who's Batman?
Not on this show. He's just saying they both died recently.
Oh, but which Batman died?
The Batman from the animated series, the same one that he voiced Two-Face on.
Oh, okay.
Also,
I don't
if you
even
haven't
know
gone back and rewatched it in a while, Gordo, Batman, the animated series, is like, it was too good for children. Like, it's crazy watching that as an adult and being like, this is one of the greatest cartoons. It's it put so much time and effort and score and money into this. It's so good.
Where is it streaming?
I think HBO.
Oh, I don't
Yeah.
have HBO.
Yeah, HBO Max has all the DC projects.
Yeah.
And Mark Hamill's the Joker.
Yeah.
It's true.
Oh, yeah,
Hopefully
that's
he
right. I
doesn't
remember
go.
E
that.
So real quick, I want to remind everyone to go to s1e1pod.com. That's where you can find all the links to where you can follow us on social media, X and Twitter. Oh, no, X formerly Twitter, and Instagram, S1E1pod. Again, all the places where you can listen to us. You're listening to us now, but other options, I suppose, wherever you listen to your podcasts. We've been saying this before. If you leave us a review, mainly on Apple, but a 5-star review, and show it to us somewhere, we will follow you on any social media of your choosing. It's kind of a thank you to just be more engaged.
And we're going to pick
outside
a
of that-
random person to do a giveaway for as well.
Yeah,
so.
we're gonna formally figure out a giveaway real soon. We in the next couple of weeks we'll have something officially ready for you guys.
We only have one thing we ask. It's that your review is not mercurial.
The fuck does that mean?
Fuck.
Did you guys watch the episode?
Did you watch the
No,
episode
they
we're doing
didn't watch
tonight?
it.
Jesus Christ.
This is gonna be a
This
fun
is gonna
episode,
be-
Joe.
No,
I
it was the dude's word because he didn't have the,
This is going to be heavy lifting, boy.
Yeah, but I still didn't understand the context.
He's just dumb, and he basically has one of those word of the day calendars, and he just
He
uses
does-
the words. It's a joke
Oh.
that's been used on a ton of different shows.
Yeah, he does it once a month.
So, as far as Night Court goes, what's like your fandom? Did you guys watch it back in the day? Do you watch it currently?
Both for me. I've seen
Absolutely
every
not.
episode. I love this show.
I watched it on its I think on repeats in its original run.
I was gonna say it started in '84, so you would.
But it went to 92.
But I remember watching it with my sister Amy a lot, and I also remembered it being a lot funnier. Not to tip my cap.
I'm gonna be completely honest with you. There's a chance there was a one-off at some point. This was the first time I've ever seen an episode of Night Court, to my knowledge.
Me too.
Interesting.
I think I just thought, like, we were young, right? So it wasn't really like our era, and I don't think it had like a Nick at Night run or anything like that. So
It definitely did, because I saw
Did
it. I watched them all the time as a kid. It had to be
It
on
wasn't on
screen.
Nick at
It was
Night.
playing
I
somewhere.
was gonna say I was a big Nick at Night guy, and I don't think I've ever watched it.
You know what it was? It must have been like, like WLVI 56.
It could have
at,
had, like,
10
another
to
syndicated
11 or
run.
something. Yeah.
It may
funny
have ran on TV Land. Like, it's hard that you mix those shit up because
Honestly,
TV Land was Nick at Night all day. So
I think
they
when
had
I
to
saw
go-
it in the past, like on like, whatever, like upcoming guides and stuff, or TV Guide channel back then, I just think I assumed it was a court show. And I was like, oh, no interest. I
Yeah,
don't really watch
also
a lot of
this-
those.
This wasn't aimed at us at all. Like, as 92 children.
No, but as
No,
far as
yeah.
like syndicated older shows, we've watched plenty of shows from this era.
But that's
True.
it too. Around that same time, we were watching Seinfeld, and we were watching shows like that like weren't necessarily aimed at 8-year-old, 7-year-old kids either. A funny show is a funny show. I will say this show does change a little. This pilot is like there's one main character in this who's not in any other episode ever. Like they do some retooling of the cast, and some of the most famous people from this show. One you see a little bit in this, and then she's in just the first season, but she's like a big, well-known, which is like the female bailiff. But then there's like a whole bunch of people who come in who are like court employees who are like kind of the other big famous people of the show, and they're not in this. So the show does change a lot and becomes a lot more goofy.
I did find that funny. One of the I know who you're talking about, the lawyer, the female lawyer, Sheila.
Yeah.
It's Sheila. Sheila's
Sheila,
only
yeah.
in this episode.
Oi,
Okay.
Sheila.
Which is weird because she's not bad either.
No, she's fine.
I didn't like her.
This is going to be an interesting one. I'm a little sad Nick's not here right now, though, because one of the greatest characters ever on Cheers, Nick and I have talked about this a bunch, is Harry the Hat, which is Judge Harry Stone's character, who's like a recurring character on Cheers. He's like a magician thief.
A low-key Tony Danza, in that he played Harry in Cheers, Harry in Night Court. His
Yeah.
real name's Harry.
And he's really a magician.
Oh, is he really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was like a comedy magician. He used to do stand-up and stuff.
And he passed in 2018, I think it was.
Yeah, not that long ago, like right before COVID.
And then I saw, so the network, the show was supposed to premiere like the start of the season, in like the 83-84 season. And NBC had concerns about Harry Anderson's lack of acting experience, which I find funny because they had already recorded episodes. It was like,
Right.
this lack of experience didn't matter if he performed well in the show.
I also think
Regardless.
he's totally fine in this.
Yeah. And it didn't premiere like right at the start of the season, but then they ended up canceling like everything that they like brought in for new shows that year. And then it became a mid-season replacement. Like they wiped it clean. Like they're like, wow, we fucked up big time this year. And all the new shows went away.
Those are the ones that are fun to do for this show too. Like these weird shows that existed for like, 7 episodes. And they were like, this is so bad. We're not even going to finish
I love
it,
covering shows like that. It's just tough to weave them in because when you get too deep into it, I mean, for those of you listening, like, we want you to listen to every episode, but we understand that there are times where you don't recognize a show and maybe skip it. But I would say often the shows that you know the least, we have the most fun with because those shows tend to suck.
Yeah,
and
they tend
they're
to
fun
be
to talk about.
just abysmal and we go kind of nuts on them. And also, if we can find them, you can find them. If they're not streaming somewhere and we can find them, you can find them. Then if you need some help, you can always send a DM. And
like hit us up again, S1E1 Pod on Instagram or X, and we'll guide you as to where to find them, and those ones could be fun.
There's another show like that too that was a mid-season replacement that didn't last. It's the same creator of this show, which I had never heard of before.
Day Court.
Fuck you guys.
High five.
But this show is called Park Place, and it's about a legal aid clinic where you have to take a number system, and it's just about like the zany lawyers and then the even zanier people who come in who need free legal advice. And I don't know, that sounds like it's probably like the worst but most fun show to cover.
I mean, add it to the list.
Look how depressed Ferg is already at the notion of possibly
He's
covering.
like, I don't want to do that one.
It's like a year from now when I bring it up
Ferg
again.
is like, I'm I'm getting
Another,
sick, boys.
You pick that show. I'm picking a show that's 45 minutes long.
I'll be sick that week.
Yeah, have fun with your one-man show. So another thing I wanted to bring
off
up,
podcast.
I was looking at, did you see that they were offered like a good amount of money to return for 10th season, like the cast, but it wasn't going to be on NBC. It was going to be just like on syndication. So they declined, which I find kind of interesting that they were like, no, big network or nothing because the money was there, but
Yeah,
What's
that
a
seems
good
weird.
amount of money? Like,
more than they were like, it was, from what I saw, it was more than what they were making after 9 seasons. And you would think
Yeah.
after a successful show going on for that long, like the main actors are probably all doing okay for themselves. So
Yeah, usually when that happens, it's like we'll give you all like 50 grand an episode for a 22 episode season. At that point, it's real hard to walk away from that money.
And TV was so different than like, and we've talked about other like first run syndication shows and things like that. The idea of it is still kind of weird to me that like, it was just like, here's the show. If anyone wants to buy it, use it.
But it worked so well.
But it worked, and like big shows ran that way and were very visible and seen by like many households. So it's not like them moving was going to be, you know, they had a fan base already. They would have been okay.
And some huge great shows too, like Mama's Family.
yeah.
Mama's Family fucking rules.
That's right.
Do you guys want to come over to a Mama's Family marathon one day?
No.
I do have
No.
every season of Mama's Family. We can watch them.
I'll pass because I am gonna meet Mama's family this weekend. So
That is true. Me and Ferg have
I'm
an
jealous.
opportunity to meet Vicki Lawrence tomorrow if we want to.
Zoom me in, Skype me into her.
Are you guys going to tell her about our podcast?
No, I don't think we voted well on that one.
So what?
Check us out.
Tell her that, you know, she's obviously a fan of TV.
Well, you could tell her that one person loves that show.
What does that mean? Just because she's a fan of TV
she's a
doesn't
fan
mean...
of TV. She must love our podcast.
Check out our podcast where we're going to shit all over your show because it didn't make sense that Betty White was your daughter.
Who is not a fan of TV that listens to us?
Again, Gordo, I don't
think
understand.
you understand what you're saying.
What the fuck are you talking about? Of course I do.
Gordo, I think we put out a decent program, and to all of you listening, I appreciate it, and we would love for you guys to spread the word. In no facet to, I think that the prerequisite to enjoying our show is, do you like TV? You must
Yes.
like our podcast. It doesn't work that way.
Like, for
Everybody
example,
likes TV.
I love TV. I don't like Joe shows. So, like, by your prerequisite, I should like every show Joe says.
Gordo
No,
thinks
I'm not
anyone
saying
who
that you
enjoys watching television, period, will like our show. And as much as I would love for that to be true, I just don't believe that.
That's not the case.
You guys know what I meant.
I do. I still don't agree. Anyways, let's move forward. I do want to start talking about this show because we got a bit to cover. So in the first scene, we start off with Lana, and she's walking into the judge's chambers, right, his office. There's a painter who's finishing up in there. I guess they're probably getting the area ready for when the new judge shows up.
He's definitely finishing up in there.
Well, he's looking out the window. You know, we come to find out that the reason this man's looking out the window is there's a couple across the way having fun
Fornicating?
time.
Making
And-
whoopee.
And she asks him, would you like somebody watching you and your wife doing that? And he's like, my wife won't do that. And she kicks him out.
There's a lot of weird sexual jokes in this episode.
Not
I
a
mean,
bad, like, opener joke, like, to set the tone, I guess. Because I guess, like, when you think of a court show, you think it can be very serious in nature.
It's
So to
stuffy.
start off with something a little raunchy, I guess, is not a bad way to set the tone.
Yeah, I agree. That made me laugh.
What I like about this too is I don't think it's hard to disassociate yourself when you've seen the show, but I don't think Gordo or Jay, you've seen this show. Did you think that guy was a recurring character on the show ever?
Yes. I thought
I
that
didn't
he'd
think
pop
so.
in, maybe not every episode, but like every so often, like they'd have to call in like a maintenance project and he would come back.
But even so, both of you, I would say he's not a recurring character. But I think what it does, it sets the mood that you're like, or sets the expectation where you're like, okay, we're in a municipal building and it's huge. Like they show you the building and it's very large, which means you're gonna have these core cast of people, but you're gonna always have these weird random people who are gonna be there, and it makes sense because there's people working in the cafe, there's people doing maintenance. So you always do have these weird situations that can come out of it. And I think that like is kind of a fun thing in the first scene to be like, this is a bustling building and it's full of people. Who do you think you're going to see next week?
I mean, he
When
could have
he's-
been like Joe Rogan on news radio.
That's true too, but he's not in the pilot, is he?
No,
No.
Joe Rogan. We
No.
cover news radio.
Yeah.
When this guy's walking out the painter, that's when we meet Bull, who's the court officer.
Rest
When-
in peace.
We just mentioned, recently departed, very recently, actually, like within a week from when we were
last
recording. Kind of coincidentally lined up with the schedule. As they're exchanging pleasantries, he's asking the painter, like, hey, how are you? And he's like, God, I was so close. So it didn't look it, but was this guy pleasuring himself looking out the window?
That's what I was saying. He was clearly close to coming, right?
Yeah, I was wondering that too because his hands were clear. His hands were in plain sight. Like he wasn't like.
Maybe he doesn't need his hands.
Oh, like tantrics. Yeah.
How
Might
does
have
that
like
even
silk
work?
boxers, and he's just kind of rubbing his thigh, and you really can't tell because he's got baggy
That
pants.
doesn't
on.
happen when you wear silk boxers.
I was just gonna ask Ferg, have you ever done that by accident?
I wish.
Can you imagine? Have you guys ever seen that video of like the dude that just orgasms? Like it's like a medical condition, and he just comes like 100 and some odd times a day. And they like follow him on the news, and he's like walking. He's like, "Yeah, it's a really bad condition."
See, I don't believe that because I feel like you don't
find that on
actually
Pornhub?
make that kind of noise and face every time. You know what I mean?
You
No,
also,
no,
you also
I'll
can't
link it.
produce that amount of semen. So
No, it's. I mean,
I think
but then
Gordo
again-
just accidentally watched the video for Jizzed in My Pants and thought it was a documentary.
yeah, apparently some man named Andy has this problem.
I'm just saying it's funny.
I'm sure it's funny. He has to be shooting blanks all day long because there's no way his like shoot to respawn rate is just gonna be way off at this point.
Yeah, I think it's just a sensitivity of the pee-pee.
It's gotta be something you can do. Otherwise, he's eating peanuts and drinking Gatorade all day, trying to keep that stamina going.
But that's the thing, though, is that like that's part of that medical condition, and they go into it because it's like a real news piece on it. So they go
Slow
into
news day.
It
That's
had
a
to be
real
like
slow
a
news day.
it had to be like a BBC piece or something.
It. Yeah,
like
yeah. I think it was. I think it was.
I mean, there were
I'll
all
find
those
it.
shows for a while that were BBC shows where it was like, Stanley Smith is an adult baby.
Wrong
Here,
kind
we're
of
going to watch him
BBC.
build his giant toddler chair or whatever. And you're like, this is not news or real TV, but I'm also going to watch it for like 3
Yeah.
hours straight.
Is that the same? Is that the same show that was like this woman's in love with the roller coaster?
Yes, it
Yes.
was. It's like, she won't show us on camera, but she says they did consummate the marriage. You're like, did that lady just fuck a roller coaster? The fuck are we watching?
How do you
Or the-
fuck a roller coaster?
Or the Cabbage Patch fan group where like they're all like treat them like actual babies. It's like, oh, I remember
so
you.
strange.
So
Well,
weird.
in any event,
Should we just pivot to we're just now a weird stories podcast? We cover
No.
weird TV stories.
No.
Well,
So-
by Gordo's logic, people like TV will follow the show. So either way, we're not going to lose any fans.
so Bull and Lana are talking, and in this we find out that the new judge is going to be coming soon. They don't know what he looks like, and also the word is that like the ex-mayor just filled a bunch of vacancies like last minute, like as he was like stepping out of office. So like everything's just kind of crazy with them, like their whole government system, right? And that's when we got that. I think it's mercurial from Bull, which
Yeah, the joke I missed.
yes,
just
which
now.
means subject to sudden or unpredictable changes of mood or mind. So all the words he's using, by the way, I did cross-reference, all are applicable, which I guess aids to the writing because you have to either know the definition of the word or how do you reverse engineer, figure out a word that fits in that situation,
They
right?
just have a big thesaurus in front of them while they're writing the script.
This guy also the creator and the writer. He's written a lot of TV too. He did a lot of good shows. So he's like not a brand new writer. He did like Barney Miller, which is probably a show we should cover sometime too. It's kind of a classic forgotten sitcom.
It was forgotten for sure because I don't know what it is.
You don't know Barney Miller? It was that falls into the thing like it was always on, and I would change the channel.
It was on constantly when we were kids. Yeah, that was
Maybe
like
I'd-
a 5 p.m. type of show.
Is
Maybe
he
I'd
the
recognize
friend
it.
of Eddie Coyle?
Plenty of people reached out and made note of how great of a movie and how well known that movie is, Gordo. So you
Who?
can suck
Two
it.
people.
No one.
You
I
can't
was-
say
I was
plenty
like,
of people when
plenty.
it's two
3.
people.
It was 3 people, and I thanked them all. I also got some DMs I can't show you guys, so but trust me.
It's my
was it-
dick joke.
It has nothing to do with anything about Eddie Coyle. I just can't show you the dick DMs I got.
Here's my Eddie Coyle.
you also get in this exchange where we're finding out that Bull's learning big words. A fancy version of saying, does a bear shit in the woods? Gordo, did you appreciate that?
I did.
All right, Gordo.
Okay, cool.
Pithy comments adding to the podcast. Thank you, Gordo.
All right, I'm going to try to throw to Gordo less. So,
Again, I'm still not 100% convinced Gordo actually watched the episode this week. I don't know.
I did. I mean, you'll find out.
Did you read like
I
clip notes
did.
about
No,
it?
not if I did.
how are we going to find out? Are you going to send us a video from of him holding a sign up with the time while it's on in the background?
No, I
Did you
did
watch it
the
Monday
show.
while eating your lasagna and holding your newspaper of the day?
You won't even prove weekly that you have your lasagna every Monday. I don't believe
Why
that you
do I
can
have
prove
to
this.
document it every Monday for you?
Because you would to prove us wrong.
No,
yeah, if you
I-
really did that.
For those of you new to us, Gordo pretends that he has lasagna every Monday.
I do.
And has had it maybe 2 Mondays in the last 4 months that we've talked to him, and mainly because we bullied him into buying lasagna.
And got his wife to lie about it to us, too.
because we really did it. I showed you the pictures.
Did it? Yeah, not
Did
do it. You said past
They
tense.
did it.
Did.
I believe that they did it once as a cute thing, and then Gordo passed it off like they always do it.
I'll say this. The first red flag was he claimed they do it every Monday. The very next Monday, he was skipping it.
Yeah.
We were
And until
on
we bullied him into
vacation.
going and getting more. You weren't on vacation yet because you ran out and bought it at the store to prove us wrong.
Yeah, because you guys didn't believe me that we do it every Monday.
Lasagna doesn't
'Cause
take
you
a
don't.
vacation, Gordo.
But anyways, there's a point where Bull heads out as he's leaving. Someone's entering the room. This is Harry. And he's talking to Lana, and he's got a box in his hands. And she's like, oh, is that stuff for the judge? And he's like, yeah. And like, okay, what is it? It's like, looks like junk to me. She's like, okay, well, just stick it over in the corner. And he goes to introduce himself. He's like, oh, my name's Harry. And she's just like, so? It's like, how?
And like, no, he comes in wearing just like a plain sweatshirt and jeans, so she just thinks he's another maintenance worker.
Regardless of like what he is or ends up being or who he wouldn't be,
The correct response is, "Oh, nice to meet you."
yeah, like what? Like if I ever like under any circumstances introduced myself and the person replied with "so," I would be in like such a rage that like I don't think I could calm down for hours.
It's like, you bitch.
I wouldn't be in a rage, but I definitely would just be like, "Okay, well, fuck you then," and just have left. You know.
That being said, like it's a little obvious that he was the judge, but I kind of wish they were all a little meaner to him. So when the like reveal came out that he is the judge, it was like, oh no, other than just that one little like so.
Well, yeah, I mean it's kind of between her and him, like less than everyone else. But I mean I thought it was like enough. You don't want it to be like so heavy that it gets awkward between them because it needs to be like because even afterwards there's a lot of tension between the two. So
I have a question about this show. Why are they night court? Like
Good question.
that did not make sense.
It's a real thing.
night court is a thing.
No, it's not.
It is.
Yes, it is.
It has been for a very long time. New York is
Gordo,
a huge
again, we have
city.
to go over this again, Gordo.
I'm with Gordo. I didn't know night court was a thing
Okay,
either.
we'll explain it. But again, Gordo, you do this all the time. When you don't know something exists and we tell you and prove to you that something does,
Because you guys bully me.
you can't just dispute it by going,
way.
no, it doesn't. like it doesn't.
You just try to
it's not
dispute
true.
facts with no
it's-
evidence constantly, though.
So do you with my. You just did it with my lasagna Monday.
I said with no facts. You have proven no facts for this. You've shown us one lasagna.
To let you know, there is a night court in New York, and it really is like a nighttime court situation that like a lot of really weird type of trials will go through the night court.
Would they run like a divorce like trial at night or whatever this was actually a shoot. Never mind. It doesn't make sense.
I don't know all the parameters, but it's usually wild cases from what I understand. I haven't like delved too much into it, but I do know that there is an actual one that exists in New York. It might be the only one is
think
the
so.
one in New York.
I believe it's mostly arraignments, though, too, because you're basically saying, like, do we send this person to jail tonight? Like, there's so many crimes, so many things happen in New York that if you just do it 9 to 5 every day, anybody who gets arrested past 5 p.m. is going to just be in a holding cell
Yeah, the holding
waiting
cells
to
will
go
be
to the judge in
full.
the morning. Yeah, it would be too much.
And that's what I would assume Night Court was, just all that.
I would say the real version is probably wilder than even the show.
See, they should make that into a reality show rather than a sitcom.
That's true, actually. Well, not rather than. I mean, it just exist.
I guess they can both still exist in this world.
Yeah, if anybody's listening, though, I would love to watch Night Court, the reality show. That sounds great.
So, at this point, Sheila and Daniel walk in. And as mentioned before, Sheila is a one-off. Her role is replaced by a different actress for the rest of the season. And I don't know if you, Joe, maybe would know better. When replaced post-pilot, is it still Sheila, or is it just a different character altogether?
Different character.
Okay.
But
and
that makes sense,
if you think about it, it makes sense, because she would have been like a public defender, and it's like you don't only get the same lawyer no matter what. You get a case-by-case basis, whoever they're assigned.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the way it works in the show for the most part is there's always pretty much 2 public defenders, and they're assigned to that district, and their shift is Night Court.
Yeah.
And then you'll have sometimes different people come in to be the other attorney, but it's almost always John Larroquette.
And John Larroquette actually won an Emmy for Best Supporting Actor in a comedy series 4 years in a row for this show, to the point where he asked that his name be taken out of consideration for future years after winning 4 years in a row.
Because he's a good man.
The new show, he's the only returning character, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the judge in the new show is...
The judge is his daughter, right? Harry's daughter.
Oh, it's Harry's daughter? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just the idea of, hey, I keep winning this. This isn't fair. Like, cut my name out of this. Like that.
I'm so funny that it's just destroying everybody else's chances. And he is the best part of this show as you keep going. He is consistently funny, and his storylines are always amazing.
And his character, Dan, was also offered a spin-off series, and he turned that down as well. Like...
Yeah, then he did the John Larroquette show, which is also really fun that I'm sure we'll cover someday. It's come up on the show a couple times.
Maybe that's why he turned down a good offer, because he had something else on the burner. It wasn't just that like he was tired of the character or whatever. But
yeah, but also playing the same character for 10 years, if you get offered to do something else, maybe you take it, you know. And also John Larroquette, be remiss if we didn't say the voice of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is like the coolest credit of all time.
Which one?
He's the narrator of the original.
Oh.
See how it starts off with like the whole narration and it ends with like the Texas
Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah. That's John Larroquette because he was friends with Toby Hooper.
Oh, okay. So now that the two walk in, they're talking with Lana, and it's basically all like, hey, any info on the new judge? They're all talking, and any info on him. Nobody seems to know much about it. And there's that like, he says they're saying like what they expect of him. And that's when Dan's like, well, I hope he plays chess. It's like, oh, this new guy just got appointed to the bench, and your only hope is that he plays chess. And then he says, I also hope his first name isn't Shecky.
What the hell does that even
was there a
mean?
reference I missed there?
All I could think of is he's making a reference to the comedian Shecky Green, which is the only Shecky I've ever heard of.
Interesting. I mean, yeah, I was like, this joke's over my head. I don't know if I'm like, maybe it was of the era would have been more like, it would have been more obvious.
Oh, is Shecky a funny word? Is that
right. I mean, Shecky's a funny name, right?
I thought maybe Shecky was the name of the previous judge.
I guess that could work too.
That's possible,
maybe,
yeah.
I mean, that's possible. And while they're having this conversation, Courier walks in and has a package for Judge Stone.
This guy's outfit, by the way, is the best. He looks like he's in like The Romantics or something. He's wearing jeans, a leather jacket, a white button-up shirt, and a skinny red tie. He's the person with the best wardrobe of this entire episode.
He'd be the character you love in a horror movie that get upset when they die. Like,
yeah,
oh no, come on.
Like, oh, I love that guy.
Not Shecky.
So when he's
maybe his name is Shecky.
Yeah, maybe he's Shecky. And so he needs a signature for the package, but it has to be from the judge. The judge is the one who has to actually sign it. And they're like, oh, he's not here. And that's when the reveal happens, like, oh, yes, he is. And she's like, Lana looks to Harry and goes, what? You don't mean? And he just like nods at her with like this kind of like grin and like, again, I think it was very projected for us, the viewer. We knew that he was going to be the judge when he walked in.
Yeah, we kind of left out too that he moved to the window and started watching the couple banging too. Didn't
happen yet. That's why we didn't
I thought that's where he came from. Well, then my bad. Hey, he was watching them bang too.
Oh, boom. You know what? It happened right here. Right, yeah.
He's laying, too, because the window's almost like an alcove sort of thing, and he's like full out laying, just watching that couple.
Love a good alcove.
It's a sitcom staple.
Joey Gladstone's just get out of my alcove.
You know,
this was weird to me. This was wait, you're not really the judge, right? And it's like, hey, listen, if I weren't the judge, could I do this? And then he has this like rifle that shoots out the kind of snakes that come out of the fake peanut brittle.
It's a shotgun, and they just keep coming to a point where I can't tell how well, as has been previously
He is
discussed.
a magician, guys.
On him, yeah.
But like, there's so many. Like when you open a can of snakes like that, like 3 pop out because that's how many can fit inside of a like 12-ounce can.
Yeah.
You can't fit a lot of snakes in those.
But they are all scattered throughout the room, and he managed to cover all of them in every corner, like multiple like parts of snake.
He also
that's how
he
much
trains
comes out.
it on John Larroquette too, and just shoots John Larroquette in the face for like a good 10 seconds.
Well, like this is so you know the company that makes the Red Ryder BB gun.
Yes,
This was the Peter North shotgun.
There's a lot of cum talk on this episode tonight. S1E1 podcast brought to you by the Peter North shotgun.
This gag, it was weird. I didn't like it was fine, but then it was like, if I wasn't the judge, could I do this? Like it was very weird and random.
You could though.
There was just too much like, hey, I'm wacky, I can't be a judge, like throughout the entire episode. I'm just like,
Yeah, this like really it set the tone for the show, but I thought not in a good way. Like I was like, this is like over the top, like not even funny, not even like campy, like so bad it's good. Like this is just like cringe.
this was
as
no
the kids
Homeboys
say.
in outer space.
Oh,
No.
It didn't bother me.
I
just
literally
thought
only
it
bothered
me.
logistically. Logistically, it does upset me very much. How are there that many snakes in that shotgun?
I just thought it didn't make much sense in the context. It was just kind of a weird example.
Also,
to
where
use.
can I get said shotgun?
Yeah, also, can I buy one of those? That sounds amazing.
And then after the shotgun thing, he like, sees off the courier, and there's that whole like, hey, thanks, sorry I don't tip. Besides, how do I know you're not the type to spend it all on a Barry Manilow album? And I was like, that line I thought was like maybe the dumbest line of the episode, if I'm being
Sure.
completely honest.
Yeah, don't
But are you
shit
be
on
mad at
Barry
anybody taking a
Manilow.
shot at Barry Manilow? I mean, come on.
Also, who brags about not tipping?
Yeah, that's a weird thing to say.
That's
People
strikes
in
2
the
and 3
80s.
right there.
And then after that is when everyone in the room starts, properly introducing themselves to the judge now that they know that he is, in fact, their new, I guess, boss, right? So,
Yeah, I don't know how the hierarchy works. Like, obviously, he's the one with the most power. He's the judge. So, like, clerks and lawyers and everything under you, it's clearly... But are you the boss?
Yes.
The mayor would be the boss, right?
Yeah, the mayor's the boss, but
maybe
they're
the
in charge
top
of
guy,
the court.
but I'm sure that he still has say over, like, them, where it's his court, right? Like, so I'm sure that he's allowed to change personnel to his desire.
Yes.
I'm sure that changes, too, between state court and federal court.
Yeah, of course. But because even then it's still the judge's court, but I imagine it goes to like the most senior judge. And since it's night court and there's one judge on night court, it's technically his court. Like he's the final boss.
I think once court's in session, yes, but I don't know if that's necessarily the case all the time. Like at lunchtime, I don't know.
I don't think there's like because there's like no CEO of a court or anything. Like it would be a judge. But I think that there's different functional areas and then they just defer to the senior judge. That would make the most sense.
I don't know if anybody can tell here. None of us are lawyers or judges. So if anybody knows for
Also
sure,
that.
let us know. We're all confused as fuck here.
After that, we get into the like formal intro of the show. And it's just kind of like this really bass heavy jazz music. I thought that, so the first few shots are like exterior, like city shots, but I felt like it didn't fit a sitcom. Like it looked like it was an opening to an HBO documentary.
Yeah, it's a little gritty.
see
It looks
that.
like scenes from the first Ninja Turtles movie.
Yeah. And like, so I don't know. I felt like it just didn't fit. But then after that, you get into the standard, like small clips of each character with their name. Like that was fine. It was all very standard.
I also really love the way the logo for Night Court looks.
It does have a great logo.
Oh, I just did a quick Google search about who's in charge of the court. The clerk of the court is the executive hired by the judges of the court to carry out the court's administrative functions. and the director is the administrative officer of the courts of the United States, except for the Supreme Court.
What about on night court?
It would be the guy that I just mentioned.
Shecky.
But you said he
The
got
clerk
hired
of
by the
courts.
judge, so the judge would be his boss. So like we
Correct.
said,
So
the
it's
judge
still
would be
the
number
judge's-
one, big dick in charge. You know.
Yeah.
Harry T. Stone, big swinging dick.
Hanging dong. Laying
I mean,
pipe.
you don't know what they're wearing under the robe.
Nothing at all. Nothing at all. Nothing at all.
Stupid sexy Shecky.
Somebody was already laying pipe at the beginning of the show.
Facts.
Uncredited. From there, we get into the courtroom for the first time. And it starts off with, like, Bull standing under two lights the two round lights, like, overhead for him. And it almost looks like
Boobs.
kind of like Mickey Mouse ears, like over
Thank
his
you.
head.
I said, I was like, this looks like Mickey Mouse. And then the joke they make is decidedly
boob-like.
a fake boob joke.
Yeah, I didn't think the crowd seemed to think it was very funny. And I would have thought that the humor in it would have been just the visual gag of them over his head and like that kind of look, like it was almost like a hat or Mickey ears.
I would
I
have
think that
appreciated a Mickey joke way more.
Yeah, I thought
But
the
I
boob
will
joke
say
didn't
it's
quite
the-
fit.
It's the way that Dan Fielding lands the line that is so dry and so funny that I think makes it work either way, because he kind of sells that that's what he means and the crowd goes with it.
Yeah, I guess to describe that character too, he's like a super straight man at all times. Like he has a very kind of monotone delivery to a lot of things. A very serious, kind of stern way about him. And I guess while we're talking about it too, like how would you describe Bull's character? Bull's kind of interesting.
Lurch.
Gentle giant kind of character.
Yeah.
He has like a very like there's times where his speech and cadence is very militant sounding as well, but it doesn't come off the same way.
And he has a catchphrase as the show goes on, like a fairly famous catchphrase where he always just goes, okay. So like that's kind of his like way of speaking too.
So now Harry walks in, the judge, and that's when Bull introduces him to kind of the standard thing where, you know, court officer announces the judge, so everyone stands up. Harold gets to his desk. He goes to sit down. Everyone goes to sit because that's kind of how court works. You can't sit until the judge is seated. Right before the butt hits the chair, stands right back up, so everyone has to kind of follow suit and jump back up with him, and he kind of gives them the gotcha and then sits down. I thought that was funny.
I thought that was too.
There's two moments in this episode where the crowd genuinely loses it with laughter. That is like, you know, you always pick out when someone's like, oh, they're really laughing here. This is the first one where the crowd like really responds to this. And it's funny. It makes sense. It makes me think they landed this on the first take, because it would be hard to have that type of laughter after seeing it more than once, you know?
And then, like, no sooner than does he sit down, like, instantly one of the guys who are in the crowd recognizes him. And it's like, Harry, is that you? Hacksaw? It's like, come on down. And he's just like, hey, it's like my buddy Hacksaw. And it's, you know, he's just like a guy who gets in trouble for illegal gambling. And he's like, 3-card Monty again? He's like, guilty, Your Honor. And, like, meanwhile, Lana's like, hey, it's not even his turn. Like, it's like...
Yeah, he still has the cards in his hand when he's guilty.
And Harry just kind of dismisses, like, oh, whatever. He's like, he's pleading guilty, whatever. $50 fine, whatever it was. I don't know. Even though it was out of order, it's like he banged one out in seconds. So, like, who cares? Like, we're getting this out of the way.
We're moving things along here.
He also brought it from a felony down to a misdemeanor as well.
Yeah, you can tell he's a more lenient judge. I will say, though, Hacksaw is a very intimidating nickname. I don't know if that's one of those, like, we call him Tiny type of nicknames, because, the two people named Hacksaw from the 80s you could think of were massive, massive men.
Oh, him and Jim Duggan?
Well, Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Hacksaw Butch Reed.
So,
who was the second one?
He was
Hacksaw
also
Butch
a
Reed.
wrestler.
He's a wrestler. He was in Doom, the tag team.
Oh, okay.
In WF, he had, like, bleached his hair in WF, and he was, like, the natural Butch Reed. He was a
okay.
decent, like, ladies wrestler.
Gordo,
he's okay,
don't
but he
give
doesn't
that
know.
acknowledgement like you know who he means now. Oh, the natural Butch Reed. Okay.
Okay.
Gordo
Butch
did
Reed
watch wrestling with us our entire lives. We used to rent those videos all the time for
I
pay-per-view.
know.
So he could have... I'm not... Gordo, I'm on your side. You may have known who that was.
No, Butch Reed's real fringe.
Well, you know what? I'll fully admit I have no fucking clue who the natural Butch Reed is. So
I was going to say, you would more likely know him from the tag team Doom.
You know him from Doom, though, right? Him and Ron Simmons?
No.
Really?
Managed by
Doom
Teddy
was
Long.
so good.
WCW?
No, I wasn't a WCW guy until the NWO era.
Well, in any event, RIP to Butch Reed. He passed like a year or two ago. But anyways, yeah, in this event, we're finding out again, as if it wasn't obvious, but Harry is very unconventional with how he runs his court, which I guess would come to be expected based on what we've seen from him before. Obviously, Lana's the counterbalance to that because they're used to a lot of structure. I think anyone who typically would want to work in a courtroom probably likes a very courtroom-like atmosphere, right? So someone coming in who's a little bit more loose and unconventional is not going to be welcome.
I know they only had a certain amount of time because, it's a sitcom, but I would have liked to have seen how things were before he showed up, like maybe the other judge's last case.
Yeah.
And it's straight-laced and conventional.
Yeah.
Or just meet him in a cameo, like maybe it starts with him packing up his things so we can see the
he's
contrast
super
of
serious
characters.
or something, yeah.
And see that like Lana really gets along with him,
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if this is like sitcom brain watching this and kind of always looking for the same things. But is there already that thought that these two will get together?
Yeah, this is an immediate like, will they, won't they?
Yeah, I got that too.
And they didn't hint towards it. They really didn't. There wasn't like any of these weird like, oh, we got caught in a hug or something like. They didn't do anything like that. But I just think it's, again, we're so conditioned to just assume that the male lead and the female lead are eventually going to date that it was immediately where my brain went.
Yeah,
and this is a pretty sitcom-y sitcom, you know what I mean? So you expect them to go for some of the tropes for sure.
I mean, it's a trope for a reason.
Right.
Well, also, the ending too kind of lended to that. And we haven't touched on it yet, but for obvious reasons, we haven't touched on the end of the show. But that's why I think that because we know the end.
That's true too. I guess if you know that scene, if you haven't seen it and you're watching this fresh, I will say this though, Gordon, because you'd never seen it before. Did you feel that until the end, or did you not?
Correct. I felt like they were going to be adversarial.
Okay.
Throughout the series of the show.
Okay, so I believe because I like my brain is tainted of knowing the show, so it's interesting to hear that perspective.
Yeah, because I mean they give you no reason to think the will they won't they, because like I said, like Jay I think pointed out, like I have the sitcom brain, so obviously they're gonna do the will they won't they, but at this point like I thought they were gonna drag it out for a long time if they were gonna be adversarial.
It's kind of weird that he's the judge, but he does the roles of every other character, and their job is just to react to him. Like, he's the lawyer for both of them. He's the jury. He does the sentences. It's like, why are there even lawyers? Because he's
overstepping
all the
a lot of power here.
But they had a jury. Those people on the side were
but they
the jury, where Hacksaw was.
He goes right into sentencing with his coordinator.
Yeah, they never say a word though, so it doesn't matter that they're there.
The prostitute, or maybe they're not because the prostitute is there.
Yeah, I think that's just overflow parking, pretty much. I think that's just other people there. Now, here's a question I was thinking of, because we looked up what night court is, right? Do you think this is like your first job, or is this like a demotion, like you fucked up and now you're working night court? Because the schedule is pretty rough. You're doing court cases, but you're working 5 to 1 is the schedule for night court.
I imagine it's probably a little bit of both. There's probably a bunch of rookies, and then there's the veterans that you demoted. And then there's probably like one veteran that doesn't mind it because they need somebody there.
There's always someone who, like, at all jobs likes the weird schedule. Like, some people get stuck on overnights and some people want overnights. There are people who enjoy that type of life. But
this is weird because it's not overnights. It's a little bit of your afternoon. It's dinner time basically till 1 a.m. The one upside, though, is if you have to do it in New York City, where at 1 a.m. when you're done with work, at least there's food and drinks and stuff to do. Bars and stuff are open for 3 more hours.
Can you imagine being in the 90s, getting arrested in New York? Like, oh boy, I'm going to night court. Like, I'm seeing this show.
And instead, they take you to Rikers Island and just like beat you with a pillowcase full of soap. Like, this is not what I expected at all.
Where's Harry? Howie!
Oh, you'll meet a guy named Bull, but it's going to be a very different scenario.
So, the next case that we get to, we hear this couple and they're fighting. And they, yelling back and forth at one another. I hate you. I hate you. But just the guy says to his wife, your whole family's crazy. Their chromosomes aren't normal. I'll look like Slinkies.
Wait, what?
I thought they were going to go with a different type of joke.
It was so
Yeah, when you
weird.
said chromosome, I was like, uh-oh. They're
Yeah.
going to say something they're going to say something that's not going to age well.
Slinky.
Like, oh.
They pulled out Slinky.
Maybe they're just really bad or really good at going down the stairs. It could really be either way.
And then one of the better insults was shot out during this exchange too. Scuzzball.
I love Scuzzball.
I like Scuzz Bucket better.
Scuzz Bucket is good too. I think we should bring back Scuzz.
And
Can we bring back Scuzz shirts? We're gonna be, hey, our merch store is gonna be opening soon, everybody. So
we find out what's going on in this case. And this couple has been married for 27 years. And she caught him with a prostitute, fires a couple shots at him, both missed by a lot. So the DA files for just attempted murder. You know, it's a wild domestic dispute. And I guess I can understand, like, I don't want to say it's realistic, but it's kind of realistic. Like it's not.
You believe
it's a wacky
this story.
case, but it's yeah. You could see this in the news and not be shocked by it.
No, what I was thinking watching this though too is like we live in a very different time now for a number of different reasons, right? Where like so that's a time when people got married very young. So say they got married when they were 21. That would track them at like 48 years old. That couple looks so much older than what 48-year-olds would look like now. Like in the 80s, people just aged so differently. All the like milk hormones and everything.
We looked at it recently. It was like the cast of Cheers. And you're looking at it and they're all like 33, 35. And you're like, how are these people all younger than us? Like they all look like they're 47.
Yeah, I forgot to look up how old John Larroquette was in this episode, but I don't imagine he's that much older or not
I would
the
say
same age as we are now.
You'd be surprised. I bet anything he's younger than we are now. John Larroquette was born in 1947.
John
So he's about
Larroquette.
38. There's our age. There's 84.
I can't believe we didn't bring up that he starred in Beethoven's Fifth.
The greatest of all the Beethoven
Did you guys
movies.
bring up that he's just fucking amazing in everything?
Hi, Nick.
Yes.
How are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Hey, look who
Welcome
we
to
got
the
back
show.
here.
Thanks for having me.
And
We're
check
talking
back
about
in.
Night Court.
Yeah, Nick is here. And Nick, we were just discussing that John Larroquette looks a lot older than we would think of how we look at that time, but we're the exact same age as John Larroquette in this show.
Yeah, we've discussed this before.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, it's a lot about style and
But he looks great.
yeah.
Nick, to I guess bring you up to speed. So, is Night Court anything that you watched back in the day?
So yes, but I was really young when I watched this show, and I didn't remember a lot of it. Does Harry's what's the actual term, like his assistant?
Oh, Lana. I forget what her
Did
role was.
she
It's his
change
clerk.
at some point? I feel like I remember somebody else, or maybe
Yeah.
it's another lawyer.
You're
I don't
thinking
know.
of Marquis Post was like the more famous
I think
cast member,
that's
the
it.
blonde
Yeah.
girl. Yeah.
Did Lana do like 2 seasons and then get swapped? I was reading
Yeah.
up a little bit about it.
And my other question was, is Night Court a thing?
Oh, we had that debate.
Yeah.
Me and Gordo
Okay,
didn't
all
think
right.
it was.
I wanted to talk
but
about
it.
that.
It is.
What did you come to with that?
So it's a
Not
real
a
thing
thing.
in New York that happens. And then just without you knowing what we talked about when you were gone, Gordo didn't know it existed. We said it did. How do you think he responded?
No, it doesn't.
Yes.
There
That's
it
exactly what
is.
happened.
It's a bingo.
Okay, well, no, that's interesting.
So yeah, it does exist. It's in New York, just like in the show. And yeah, we are just kind of talking about that. We're on to the case now with the couple. When it's their turn to go up, we're kind of doing the roll call, making sure everybody's there. So we meet the husband and the wife, and then Carla, who goes by Carla B. She's the alleged prostitute, and she's kind of
Is it alleged? I'm pretty sure she herself admits
She
that
kind of
she's
admits
the
it, yeah.
prostitute.
She admits it, and then she pretty much later on says that she'll take Harry around the world if he wants it.
She kind of reminds me of Jamie Lee Curtis in
Trading
the
Places.
first time Trading Places.
Yeah, I get the red outfit
It's like
and
the
everything.
same
yeah.
look, same like big hair and stuff.
A Christmas movie, so come up on it again.
Yeah, I'll definitely watch it. I love that movie.
So while he's getting adjusted into this case, instead of, again, being conventional about it, says, hey, you know what? How about we do this? We're going to take a short recess, and then recommends that the couple and both of their lawyers all hit up a diner together and have some coffee and try to work things out on their own.
That was kind of my problem with this aspect of the show is they do a lot of like, oh, he's thinking outside the box as far as like this. I just feel like they could have done a better job of executing a little bit. It's just a little too cheesy and loosely written, I feel like.
Well, it's so loose that it completely negates protocol. Like we're saying, like there's just points where you're overstepping to a point where
you
there's
can't
still like
do that. Yeah,
there's still like a checks and balances to how you have to operate a court, which he seems to override a lot.
Yeah, like at this point, like we know she shot at him with a gun.
Yeah, a serious.
Like, there's probably a restraining order at the very least. You can't have them together somewhere other than court.
And also, she didn't kill him, but she shot errantly into the nether. That could have killed, like, a neighbor kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you can't just shoot a gun randomly. Bullets do end up going somewhere. And you're in a city.
Especially in New York.
Yeah, right, especially New York. Like, one of the most populated, dense cities in the entire world.
Yeah, even shooting straight up in the air, it's like people don't realize bullets come down.
Yes.
Yeah. Whoever thought that idea at first, like, we should shoot in the air. It's like a good way to celebrate. Like, I wish I could go back in time and like
It's just
smack
like they're
that
just
guy
gonna
in
like
the head.
yeah, they're gonna go like past gravity and just float away.
They're going to
Space is actually just full of just thousands of years of ricocheting bullets just spinning around in orbit.
It's an astronaut. It's like, oh.
That's how they killed Neil Armstrong.
That's how they patched up that hole in the ozone layer. They just shoot fucking bullets up into it. to clog it
Good
up.
news, ozone layer is fixed. Bad news, we'll all get lead poisoning.
It's a bullet shield, protecting Earth. When the judge exits, this is when Lana, Sheila, and Dan all get to talk a little bit. Lana wants to get this guy out of here, and they're basically both telling her it's near impossible to get rid of a sitting judge. Like the process of it and everything that has to happen, like it's not even worth it.
Because it's an appointed position, so it's not like, you can't just fire somebody.
That kind of shows what we discussed earlier, though. So it shows their experience, and she's new. When we were saying, like, are they all veterans or are they all rookies?
They're
overnight?
like her job is more like administration, right? And they're lawyers, so they just know the process of things. And
Yeah, but they would have had to have seen it.
Is she the clerk of the court?
She's
I believe so. When
clerk.
she introduced herself,
So
she
she's
said
the one in
clerk, yeah.
charge of the administrative functions.
Yes, but she's still not over the judge himself. I don't
Correct.
think. Yeah, and we get that joke there too. So like, the only real way to get rid of him is like, we have to kill him.
that was my favorite line. We have to
The
kill-
great John Larroquette line.
So from there, we cut to the judge who's in his office, and Lana knocks and enters in, and she wants to speak with him, and she wants to discuss his behavior, and there's that pick a card thing, and she goes to pick one, and all the cards are together. It's a little hokey. I thought that one was, again, kind of like with the snakes. It's a little just. It's too much. Like, I get he likes magic. He likes to have fun.
He was
but
he was a magician comedian before this show, right? Like, you think these are all part of his act?
It has to be,
Probably.
yeah.
Do you think part of his act was, though, it was like, my brother doesn't know how to say my name. Call me Howie. Like, that seemed so unnecessary, but I laughed so hard at it.
I did think that was funny.
Howie the Hat.
It made me think of Home Alone.
Howie!
Yeah, how Well, that's how I thought they were gonna like pronounce it, and they didn't. And they
It was very
like,
close. It was more like a
Howie.
Howie.
Yeah.
It's the sound of a night court coming down the stairs.
Nick, since you referenced it, I will say Joe did reference that you would remember him as Harry the Hat.
Oh my God! It's this and that. Like that's what else would I know him from?
He's
And
Richie
we've
in
covered
it.
Cheers, and we talked about it. And I'll be the first to admit I've seen a good amount of it, but I didn't rewatch Cheers as an adult much, so I don't have a lot of that stuff burned into my brain. Him as Harry the Hat, was he in a good share of episodes?
Yeah, he kind of pops in like once a season.
Okay, so not crazy amount, but enough.
No. I don't remember, though, if he
Yeah,
keeps...
cameos.
Yeah, he just like pops in at his cameos, which is fun. It's like usually it's like him, Carla's husband, or Carla's new husband. Those are like who's like the hockey player and the Bruins. They all love him because he's a Bruin. They like interchangeably use those people as like the random come-ins, you know.
He was only in 6 episodes of Cheers. I would have guessed more.
Weird. Yeah, I was thought more, but I guess there was 10 seasons or 8 seasons of Cheers, so it's almost one season.
11 seasons of Cheers, wasn't it?
11 seasons. Okay, well, we're way off.
82 to 93. He was only in 6 episodes. He didn't show up for a while though, right? I don't think he was.
It's probably like the second or third season when he first pops in.
Yeah, but I mean, his like the ones he's on are some of the best episodes.
Yeah, he plays sleazy real well.
He does.
So while Harry and Lana are talking, he's kind of defending his unorthodox methods because she's like, you can't just send people to brunch after attempted murder. He's like, well, you know what? Give them a chance. Like, this might work, this might not work, but like, hey, it's worth a shot. And as he's saying this, Dan and Sheila enter and like both look disheveled. Like Dan's sleeve of his suit is completely gone. His shirt's missing. Like he looks like he got stuck in a tornado.
I love this because his suit coat is on, his vest is on and still buttoned, and his tie is still on, but his button-up shirt completely missing.
Gone. Yeah.
I mean, he looked like he walked in New York at night in the 90s.
Like he walked through Times Square when Times Square was still kind of scary.
Yeah.
He looked like he got into a fight with a bear.
He's very upset. He said, I loved my shirt.
I miss my donkey.
And
cake.
And Harry kind of has to come to terms with the fact like that this idea he had didn't work. And he really thought it would. Lana's kind of quick to be like, I'm sorry, but like this very obviously was not going to work. Harry exits the office. We cut back to the courtroom. Bull is like holding like the husband and wife like in each of his arms to keep them apart from one another. And again, it's like their insults to one another are very odd, right? Because it's like, you're a whale, you're a tarantula.
Yeah. Not exactly.
And then I liked, she's like, you never used language like that to me before. He's like, well, you never tried to shoot me before.
I mean, fair enough.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I could think of far worse things that you'd call somebody than like a tarantula if you shot me.
Yeah, it's fair. So Harry enters the court again. He gets everyone to settle down. He was like, I thought I sent you guys off to like settle this together. I thought you'd be able to work it out. And he's like, I tried to work things out, but she wouldn't have none of it. And then the guy just from the court and the crowd's like, that's a damn lie. Louise has been trying. This dude wouldn't give her a chance.
See, this came out of left field. I'm like, who the hell are these people?
I thought that was funny.
It was funny. I'm not shitting on the joke because it was funny. I just was confused. I don't know who they were supposed to be, and I wish they were at least introduced at the first part of the trial.
It was just one of those, I don't know if he actually knows them. I don't know if he's just invested in what's going on. I don't know if he just was at the diner and followed them out now. Like, it was really out of left field, but I kind of think that it being so random and unlike telegraphed, like, I think kind of made it funnier because you weren't expecting this guy to shoot out of nowhere and speak.
Yeah, but this was so over the top too. Like it's just like the snakes thing for me. Like it was just over the top.
No, I think the snakes thing is like,
why was it over the top though? I mean, it's just somebody. You're talking about the guy standing up for the guy, right?
Correct.
Well, he was standing up for the girl.
For the girl,
Right. Some
but
other guy stood up for him afterwards.
I mean, you can do that though. You can go and watch court
can't do that in court. But
people
you
get
can't
held in
speak,
contempt.
though.
Well, yeah. Obviously, you can't do. But you could do it. You would get in trouble.
I
think could do it.
The idea of something like this night court, right? Like you're going to get a lot of wild characters and a lot of unorthodox type of behavior from people. So the idea of this guy running and shouting something out, to me, does not flag as this would never happen. Something like the snakes and the gun, that's something where I go, this would probably not happen.
Maybe it was like, it's supposed to be in the courtroom, but things have devolved so they're almost more like a talk show, like a Jerry Springer or something, where like now the fans are shouting just because things have gone so off the rails.
It's getting weird, yeah. But
I mean, Bull is kind of the Steve Wilkos of the crew.
but Harry does cut in though and says like, "Hey, like no more shouting from the gallery." And then he goes, "Yes, the man in the back in the bathroom." And then the guy gets up and goes, "Are oohs and ahs okay?" And I thought that was really funny too.
That was really
liked
good.
That guy was doing such a weird voice too. He was doing like a David Johansen voice or something. Like it was very, very strange. He's like a character who'd be married to Rosie O'Donnell in like an early 90s movie. It was like when she's always married to like the weird sleazoid guy.
Hey, and she was married to Rick Moranis in the Flintstones.
That's true. The good one, Viva Rock Vegas.
No, not that one.
With Stephen Baldwin from Biodome. This is when Harry decides that he needs to whip out the coin of justice. That he does the coin behind the ear trick to get it. Again, I like how the coin was used, right? Like the way that it was used afterwards, because we go to this coin a few times. I thought it was done well. I think a lot of these childlike magic tricks did get a little old at times, but I
do you think it's
think
a time thing? Like, wait, like if we were in what year did this come out? Sorry,
84.
Is this better in 1984? You think? Because I agree with you, but I'm wondering if it plays better in 1984.
Know what I would be thinking though if I was waiting to go to my trial next? I would be like, what the fuck is gonna happen? This guy might go on a whim and be like, what did you do? Be like, oh, I robbed $20 from a cash register. Be like, you're going to jail for 1,000,000 years. Like he's the least like accurate to sentencing judge ever. What if he goes the wrong fucking way on you?
Like Judge Judy.
Yeah. What if he says, don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining, and then sends you to jail breaking rocks for 200 years?
I mean, I think you get the idea that, like, he doesn't want to be a judge.
No, he does want to be a judge. He just wants
he doesn't want to
things...
be, like, a harsh judge.
He doesn't want to be serious all the time.
He wants to change the system.
And I think he's someone that inherently has faith in people and thinks that, like, when you give them a chance that they will do okay.
And the people are better than the system, and I appreciate that mentality.
Yes, but
I like the alternate cut though, where this whole coin scene is the Two-Face scenario. He just shoots that woman right in the face.
Well, the first time he uses the coin is because it's to basically, hey, you guys don't want me to have this job anymore. So like it was weird because I almost felt like there was like a missing piece to the puzzle because the three kind of talked about how he shouldn't be there anymore, but he's not privy to any of that. And now he's acting like he's kind of aware that they don't want him in his
That
seat
should have been addressed in his conversation before they went back to court, him and the girl.
That should have been in his chambers.
Because didn't it kind of feel like he was reacting to a conversation?
Something was missing, yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of a heads I stay judge, tails I resign. And then, doop, heads I'm still judge. Now he's going over like the stuff with, the couple again. He's like, 27 years that you've been married, huh? Like, that must have been hell, right? It's like, well, Phil's like, there were some okay times early on. And then basically the judge is kind of saying like, you guys aren't fucking anymore, are you? Like in so many words.
Obviously not, because he went to go see a sex worker, right?
Right.
Do you think he was the guy in the alleyway?
What?
The guy that was laying pipe in the alleyway.
He was in a building across the alleyway. He wasn't just watching people having sex going at it in the alley.
Oh, I thought he was watching people in an alley.
No, he said the building across the alley.
No, but I do think there could have been, now that you say it, there could have been a fun tie-in that could have been, at least the girl, the prostitute, like, when she first walks in, like, because we know that Harry saw what was going on through the window, could have been like why do I think I know you from somewhere?
Yeah, or the painter, like,
that would have been funny,
because this show is so fucking goofy, the painter is, like, painting something in the back and go, oh, hey.
Oh, hey.
What? Hey, it's me, the painter. I'm painting. Isn't this wacky?
No, he looks at the girl and goes, oh, or maybe he finishes coming or something. Like, like, you guys know what I'm talking about.
Oh, hey.
My favorite thing is the part that got Ferg the most is that he would be doing manual labor in court hours. That's so fucking funny.
Night court hours, too.
I'm just saying.
Speaking of, do they ever establish what the hours are? Like, what is this?
Not in this episode.
But we looked it up. It's 5 to 1.
5 p.m. to 1 a.m.?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Which is a really weird schedule. As we're saying, it's not like third shift. It's not like overnight. It's just kind of like...
That is weird, yeah.
In the middle shift.
It's just an incredibly inconvenient shift. There's no benefit to that one.
Your punishment is having to sit through night court.
Right?
Disagree. So there's a second coin flip situation that happens here when we are talking to the night worker, where he's going to do another coin flip and go, all right, the crime is solicitation. Heads, I just fine you. Tails, you go to jail. And up heads again. It's your lucky day. And she's like, could be yours too. He's like,
great line and great delivery.
It was really good. I thought she was very charming in her role. Now that we've had the second coin flip and they both were heads good option, tails bad option, head.
I already saw it.
I think we already knew where this was going. I almost felt like they didn't have to reveal it.
Yeah, it'd be hard to not see this coming.
The thing is, everybody in the court caught on too, because they all like, hey, we want the heads and stuff like that.
Right.
I kind of wish they left it to the audience to catch on, because it was pretty obvious. And it would have been like a wink to the audience, but the fact that they all knew too, I didn't like that.
Yeah, because when the lawyer says, the court requests heads, Your Honor, you're like, that like telegraphs it maybe a little too much.
There was also that point, right after that is Fielding was like, he's trying to protest something going on. And he asked him like, did you have a happy childhood? He's like, what? He's like, was it happy? Like, did you laugh as a youngster? He's like, I don't want to answer. It's like, well, I don't want to fine you for contempt. I didn't laugh a lot.
The idea of being able to use contempt as like an actual threat is pretty interesting.
But it is getting like wild, right? The court's been wild the whole time. And there's that point where Harry's like, does anyone see what I'm doing here? Does like anyone get what's going on? And Bull's like, I don't know what the hell's going on.
I have no idea what's happening. Yeah.
Me too, Bull. Me too.
It's basically the idea, like, you talk to people, you get to know them, you figure them out, you kind of, all this stuff kind of works itself out when you kind of understand the people behind the case. And I do understand that. And, we've all, well, I can't say we've all, I certainly have been in, court situations in my past. And, I will say, like, there is a real roboticness to the system at times, and it is a little nice to see, like, a judge who cares about, like, hey, let's learn about this person, and it doesn't have to be so cut and dry, because it is very open shut sometimes, and not as, they don't think about the person.
We were talking about last week? We were talking about Judge Maz.
Yeah. Judge Maz.
Is he the one from Rhode Island?
Yeah.
Is he the Rhode Island one? Yeah. We were talking about him recently. I can't remember if it was last week.
Neighborhood Court with Judge Maz, the fucking funniest show of all time.
You were driving your father to the hospital. Oh, you're fine.
Yeah, you're a sweet kid.
God bless you.
I will say, though, to your point, Jay, the other day I just randomly was watching the news and they like cut in because like one of the Trump trials that's happening, like somebody was taking a plea deal. And for some reason, the news was just like, we'll just like watch them do the whole procedure. They're just a person with a notebook being like, and did you do this? Yes, I did. And this? Yes. And this? Yes. Like, I started laughing because 10 minutes in, I was like, this is just the most boring, monotonous thing ever.
Yeah.
It is.
It's a lot of process.
Can we get the cliff notes at the end instead of just showing the whole thing, please?
Yeah, like, why would you think this is, like, exhilarating TV? Although, that said, I've gone back and watched a lot of the O.J. Simpson trial. Because you can watch every single hour of it on YouTube. Because remember, it was on Court TV at the time. It was just on all day, like for 8 hours a day. A lot of that is crazy interesting. So I don't know. Maybe it's the flair of the lawyer.
You're so quirky, Joe, watching reruns of the OJ trial.
That's a historical thing. I'm not being quirky.
Joe, nobody's going back and watching the OJ trial.
You go look at the videos on YouTube and look at the view counts, and you tell me that.
Nobody is doing that.
It's
Or are
not
they
that
fake
wild.
views? Because if they're fake views on YouTube, Cora, you're not doing a good job as our YouTube engineer. Because we would be skyrocketing through the charts right now.
In any event, we get to the point where there's
No response. Cora, would you like to flip a coin?
I would like to flip a coin.
well, we're in another coin flip situation here in the court, and this is the big one now. So he's like, all right, time to bring the coin back out. Heads, Louise goes to jail for 7 years. Tails, we let her go, whatever it was. And that's when, like, Phil was like, 7 years? Oh. And it's like, and like, you know, it started to hit him like, okay, so even if you did try to, he's just like, he's thinking of 27 years of marriage here. And it's like, this woman that I've spent, you know, a giant chunk of my life with might be going to jail for 7 years.
There's two things I have to point out here. First, he goes 7 years, and he, like, realized that's a long time. And then he goes, oh, good luck, Louise. Like, then he completely flips over to being a shithead again.
Well,
But
it was
also,
like,
7 years for attempted murder? Did anybody else think that seems like a light sentence?
100%. It's like
Yes.
he's like, oh well, at least they're back together. That's great. It's like, no, she still fired a gun in New York. Like,
Yeah.
It's circumstantial though, right? Because like we don't know the specifics yet, right? That she just fired into the air. And yes, you're right. She could have hit somebody else, obviously. But
well, all we know at this point was that the shots missed by a lot.
right, yeah. So I
But-
guess at this point, it does seem like a light sentence. I don't know what the running attempted murder years are, though.
I'm looking that up.
Oh, thank you, Gordo.
Attempted murder is a serious crime which carries a sentence of up to 25 years in prison
Okay.
in the state of New York.
So up to 25, 7 doesn't seem outrageous. 7.
Yeah, well, it's half life.
I just like that the person who wrote that was like, I have to preface this by saying it's a serious crime. Like, you didn't have to add that part in. I think we all understand.
Well, all those law blogs, like, that's just covering your ass.
It's like
hey, this
legalese
is serious.
stuff, yeah.
Please call me.
But
If
when they
you're
say up to
accused of-
25 years, it's very rare that you're charged at the full extent. So like 25 being the max. That's why I'm saying to get 7 doesn't sound like you're getting
Yeah.
it super light. Like that kind of makes sense to me.
Yeah, that sounds like a reasonable plea deal that you would take.
also,
You'd
just
probably
'cause
only
it's
do 3.5, right? Because you usually
Exactly.
do like 50% and you're out.
I think it should be more. Just because they didn't succeed, they still attempted murder. That's like,
Well,
Oh no, I mean I'm not saying how I personally feel about the situation, but knowing what's kind of par for the course, it seems like about right as far as what they went with in the show.
I mean, half of the half would be like 12 and a half. So,
Probably do a year. Good behavior.
Well, in any event, that whole good luck Louise is basically him going, well, I mean, it is your own fault. You tried to shoot me.
Yeah.
And that's when she's like, shoot, smoot. Like, I fired straight up into the air. Do you think I'd actually try to hurt you? And then it's like, is that true, Louise? It's like, you think I nursed you through 3 bouts of pneumonia
Like
and
how
a
this
gallbladder
lady's
operation?
arguing with Jay's dad, apparently.
Well, it sounds like Jay's doing Tony Danza's dad and then Mona. Like, he's made some weird crossover of who's the boss of this couple.
Or if you watch the episode, I'm doing the guy from the episode. Like I'm not. It wasn't like he talked like fucking Gilbert Godfrey, and I'm going completely opposite here. Like
I wish
Oh,
you
like-
talked like Gilbert.
That would have been great casting.
or Bobcat Goldthwait.
Jay loves doing impressions, but refuses to do Bobcat.
so, take all the ones I give you for free.
If we start an OnlyFans, will you do it? Nothing
What?
but Jay
What
doing.
the hell are you talking about?
You start an OnlyFans?
Why did you go there? Did you mean Patreon?
No, well, why not? Let's start an OnlyFans that Jay could just do Bobcat Goldthwait impression.
I don't think
that
you
have
know
to
what
do with
OnlyFans is
OnlyFans?
for.
I do. You can do whatever the fuck you want on OnlyFans. You don't have to show your butthole.
Jay would have to do impressions of Bobcat Goldthwait masturbating.
You don't need to.
Jay's closer to Bearcat.
I'm a jerkin' bunny.
I'll tell you, this is the hardest it's ever been to not do an impersonation at this point.
Just do it. What are you waiting for?
Do it, Jay. You said you would bust it out.
Whoa!
He's gonna bust it out on OnlyFans,
For
apparently.
the OnlyFans, yeah, that's behind the paywall.
So, to get back into this, I think the realization from Phil that his wife did shoot but never actually intended to kill him. Now it's like, well, all the more so this idea that she could go to jail for 7 years and didn't ever actually want to hurt him. And I mean, he did cheat on her. So like,
yeah, it's not like he didn't do anything wrong here.
Completely innocent in this situation either, but they do agree to forget about the whole thing. They eventually, run up and, they give each other a big hug. And the reveal
he just wipes away an attempted murder charge. Not even probation.
I would have preferred
just go home and be in love.
I would have preferred if they had this nice warm moment and then he still sentenced her for shooting something like that. Like,
right, and probation for a year
here.
Or something. Like, give her something, yeah.
Well,
10
Harry
days
was still like, come on, let me flip the coin. And he's like, no, every time you flip it, it comes up heads. And that's when he tells you, of course it does. It's a double-headed coin. Like, I feel like there was a better reveal than him blatantly saying it. Even if he, like, flipped the coin over and was like, you flip it yourself. And he went, hey, both sides are heads. Like, I think that could have worked. I don't know. I think him just announcing that it's a double-headed coin wasn't the way to do it.
He should have left it on the desk, and then, like, when the trial was over, someone picks up his coin. It's a double-headed coin.
Yeah, like, I just
like
think him announcing it was a little too... Like, even though it was so projected and obvious, I didn't think he had to say it.
I think it goes to his monologue, though, that when he's like, hey, I want people to learn about people and stuff. Like, I think it plays into that.
This is also the scene, too, where this is the second time where the crowd completely loses it, making me think this had to be first take, just like the other one, because that wouldn't get a laugh on, like it's the double-sided coin, take 7, like, that's not gonna get this, like, uproarious crowd response,
Oh, man, you put on the applause light, if you don't applause, you're going to night court.
That's what they said, like, there's a real night court, right? And if you don't laugh at this, you're fucking going there.
So, after this stuff gets sorted out, there's a point where the lawyers head back over towards the judge. They're all talking. And he's saying, like, hey, I'm going to head back to my chambers to do some judge stuff. If you guys could sort all this stuff out. Like, any questions before I take off? And that's when it's like, yeah, I just want, like, how did you get appointed to this bench? And he says, oh, funny story, actually. Like, the mayor, it was his last day in office. And it was a Sunday. And my name's at the bottom of this long list of, like, 1,000 candidates. And they start calling everybody, like, but they're starting at the top of the list. But because it's Sunday, no one's home. So he's going down the list one at a time. And finally, like, it gets down to my name at the bottom, and voila. And the reveal is, so you got appointed because I was home. And that's when he announces a 10-minute recess and everybody takes off.
Oh, what, everyone was just at church?
I do like the button he puts on that, though, because he's like, but you got to remember, I was still on the list. Like, I was still
that's later on. Yeah,
that's at the end.
Oh, I thought that was right after this.
No.
Okay, all right.
He takes off and we cut to later that night. And he's alone in the courtroom, like sitting in his chair with headphones on, listening to some music. And Lana enters. He says, like, who is it? Mel Torme?
Mel Torme.
Torme.
The Velvet Fog. I honestly, you would know Mel Torme because of, like, his one huge song. I only really know him because he is brought up by Harry all the time in this. And there's a whole Seinfeld episode where Kramer meets him. So I don't know a ton about Mel Torme, but he did write Chestnuts Roasting on an Open Fire.
Oh, he's the one who wrote that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. He admits that Night Court is the reason that a lot of people recognized him later on.
Yeah, it's like an actual weird character quirk. He always brings up Mel Torme.
And he showed, I guess so, like, when he was mentioned in the episode a lot, of, like, his people let him know about it, and it eventually turns into him doing an appearance on the show.
Yeah.
That's a weird-looking dude.
And he does an appearance on, because he is himself as well on the Seinfeld episode, too.
So, now, Lana and Harry are talking. He's like, thanks for being patient with me. I am new here. And that's when Nick, like you said, he tells her, yeah, my name was at the bottom of the list, but every candidate that was on there was thoroughly screened. And regardless of what anybody thinks, I was on the list. He goes to take off and Lana stops him and says, what you did here tonight was beautiful. And he's like, oh yeah, in a bohemian sort of way. And she's like, no, I mean it, like, you saved that marriage of 27 years. All that, like, love and those memories. He's like, well, sometimes I got lucky.
I do feel like there was a scene cut out.
Yes, and that's why I think, again,
Yes.
because she says, like, hey, about my job, can you give me one more chance?
Right, because you don't hear her quit or say, I am quitting. That had to have been cut.
I feel like there was a scene because,
I think
again,
she reported him or something.
there had to have been a scene because earlier when he starts talking about like heads I stay, judge, tails I resign, that and this boat seemed to link to a scene that didn't happen.
Yeah, 100%.
So, but regardless, she asks for one more chance and says, it would be an honor to call you Harry. He's
So
like,
stupid.
It should have been, it would be an honor to call you Your Honor.
Exactly.
I can't believe it didn't come out of her mouth.
Such a better line.
Yeah, it would be an honor to call you Your Honor. Yeah, like why was that not?
It would make sense if it was a callback to stuff, but
But that was probably a part of the missing scene.
Harry's response was, well, that's fortunate because I have that name. And that was the close of the episode. So I'm like, all right, weird, but
Yeah, was there a scene where like he wanted them to call her wanted them to call him Harry and they wouldn't do it?
Oh, maybe at the beginning when he first walks in.
In the beginning when he like introduces them, but I don't remember them like.
I don't recall there being.
Unless it was just remember when he first announced his name and she went so. Maybe it was reference to that.
Oh, okay.
Maybe, yeah.
She's gonna call him So the whole time.
But even then,
The Honorable Judge So.
She never like really refused to say his name after.
Yeah,
so I don't know.
There wasn't a long plot line thing where it was like Howie. I guess she didn't call him Harry or Howie.
No, there's the point where he says, "Call me Harry," and then she says she can't.
Does she say she can't in that scene?
Yeah.
Nick, I think you're right.
Because that's when he brought up the brother. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that's the Howie scene.
That's what leads to the Howie.
Damn it.
Maybe I got distracted by the Howie.
I think I did too.
But
yeah, we got totally lost on the tangent on that one, but I do still think you guys are right. The "Call you Your Honor" is a better line.
Call me Rotter?
No, Your Honor.
Your Honor.
Oh. I misheard that.
Rotter Hyper.
Call me Rotter.
Well, to be fair, there's so many cutout scenes. I would love if that was one of them. It'd be an honor to call you Rotter.
He just walks out with hacksaw
soon.
and Rotter.
Yeah, hacksaw and Rotter.
That was the close of the episode. I kind of a weird way to end it, but that's how it ended. So
I like a freeze frame ending, though. I do enjoy a freeze frame sitcom ending.
Definitely more popular back then.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to bring up is the thing about like appointing people on your last day. That's taken from a real story. I forget where it was. I was reading about it today, where some city where like the outgoing mayor was mad he didn't get reelected and really didn't like the guy who was coming in. So on his last day, he just hired a bunch of totally not qualified people to fill all the positions.
Yeah,
and then just screwed.
Yeah. This was loosely based on fact.
Was that really screw over? Can't the next guy just be like, "You're all out. Yeah, I'm going to reappoint my own people now"?
Well, they mentioned in this episode, though, that it's incredibly hard to remove a sitting judge.
Oh, okay.
So to do it, you probably could do it, but it's going to be a long process. That's probably not the first thing you want to do. You're so busy trying to like get acclimated to like running the city, you know?
I know nothing about this, but it's just like my general understanding is that it's not really just like a job filling. You know what I mean? Like it's like an appointment almost, right? Where it's not just like, oh, you can just fire them, you know, like because unless they do something egregious, like, you know, worth firing over, it is pretty hard to, vacate that seat again.
But how did the guy before do it?
Because he probably retired.
Okay.
But so what is Philip Banks? What type of judge is he? Because remember there's the episode where he's running to become a judge, and then Will takes the video and then just makes it like Max Headroom. It's like, vote for Philip Banks. Philip Banks.
So in some states,
the greatest moments.
In some states, judges are appointed. In other states, judges are elected.
Okay, so it's like a sheriff or something.
Correct. Yeah, but I don't know about New York's law. But he clearly says that he's appointed.
Philip Banks in the third season was appointed. He becomes a judge. Before that, he was a senior partner at Firth, Wynn and Meyer. Where I remember Will making an Earth, Wind and Fire joke.
Yeah, that sounds right. But he was running for something because there was a vote for Philip Banks. But was he? Maybe he wasn't voting. Maybe he was running for like a political position.
He was going for a higher court, maybe. Judge,
Or he
higher
could be
court.
going for the mayor. If he's like an adversary to Harry, he could have been running for the mayor to fire him. I don't know. I haven't seen. I have forgotten everything about the future run of this show.
No, we're
I
talking
haven't
about Fresh
seen
Prince,
it.
though. Like what Uncle Phil was running for.
Okay, all right, never mind. I was gonna say, is there?
But give me
Philip
that
Banks?
crossover.
Gordo didn't realize who Philip Banks was. That's amazing.
Although that would be a great crossover. Yeah, you're right. For
In all fairness, if you just say Philip Banks, I can see him missing that because he's Uncle Phil throughout the
Right,
whole
yeah.
show.
No, but you guys to your credit, that was so seamless that I didn't even know that wasn't a part of this show.
that we just
You
started
guys
randomly
just went-
talking about a different '90s sitcom.
Correct. Yeah.
Did they
that
cross
was-
paths? What year did Fresh Prince start? Was that '92 or was that '93?
I wanted to say it was before that.
FYI, he was running for Superior Court.
Okay, so Superior Court's different than
Justice
State
or
Court.
judge.
Okay.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air started in 1990.
Wow, it was earlier.
Ooh.
So we
You'd
could have
think
been a
we'd know that
crossover.
since we
We
covered
2
it.
years.
But yeah, in any event, I don't know if you guys have much else you want to say about Night Court. Otherwise, we can get into the green light or cancel.
Nope.
We did
So-
a lot of discussion here in this one.
Did a lot of discussion. We did. So
I'm just saying
gonna-
facts at this point.
gonna go in the order. I see you guys in Nick, starting with you.
Yeah, I know I wasn't here for a lot of the discussion. Excuse me. My knee-jerk reaction was to greenlight this show, and then I realized that none of what's in this pilot really contributed to my greenlight. They did not do a good job, I don't think, in this episode of giving you incentive to come back for more. I wanted to keep watching, but for the wrong reasons. I remembered it and I wanted to keep seeing it. But if I'm truly ignoring what else I know about this show and how I feel about the actors and the characters and stuff like that, I don't think I can in good faith greenlight it. It was sloppy. There wasn't a lot of substance in this episode. It went really quick. I mean, look at this. I mean, we're at 90 minutes into recording. That's kind of unheard of for us, like a little over 90. I don't know when you guys started, but just like didn't really get a good feel for the characters aside from Harry. I feel like they did an okay job with Harry, but the rest of the cast not so much. I don't know. It fell off for me, and it just didn't check enough boxes, unfortunately. I know it's a great show. It ends up being quite the juggernaut, but this pilot did not do it for me, so I unfortunately have to cancel.
Ferg.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as Nick. I walked into this ready to pass it right away, just based on how much I liked it in the past, and it's not a great pilot. And rewatching it really turned that around. And it's not the rest of the show, but this one pilot, it's just like, I thought the character of Harry in this pilot was not written well. He was trying too hard. All the circus stuff. I don't want Law and Order, but I also don't want I want less comedy in my sitcom, which is weird to say when it's something like a court show. If I had never seen this show before, it's almost enough to make you kind of want to keep watching. You're like, oh, I wonder what other wacky court cases we'll see, and like that is enough to draw you in. But there was just enough that I didn't like about this particular pilot that I have to give it the cancel.
Joe.
Yeah, so I came at it a little differently than you guys because I also love this show, but I was like, I don't know if this is going to work out well as a pilot because I remember there being such different cast and everything. And one thing we actually forgot to mention was you see Selma for like 2 seconds in this. She pops in, right? She's a huge part of the show in this season, maybe the first 2 seasons. She's the bailiff with she's like the chain-smoking bailiff who sounds like this, who now thinking about it, I'm like, did they name Selma from The Simpsons after her? Like they may have. Because an actor's real name was Selma too. I'll have to look into that. But for what this show doesn't have in this pilot for what it becomes, it was the first time that I noticed, I think we mentioned it in the beginning, like, oh, you get all these crazy characters and they're always going to change because this is such a big, bustling building that has different people in it every day. And I love the idea of, at the end of this being like, next week I do want to see this because I want to see who the weird people working on it is, who are the weird people in the court. Like there's like little scenes where like the guy is screaming and starts crying and the other juror just hands him a tissue, right? There's like a lot of people interaction. And I think a lot of the jokes landed. When I do notes, it's very rare to see this was almost all quotation marks because there are just so many funny lines in this, and there wasn't a lot of substance, but I laughed at all of it the whole time. I did really enjoy this. I'm going to greenlight it.
Gordo.
So I see where Joe is coming from. The idea that this could change, this is almost always going to change. That's what I got. I felt like the lawyers were going to change throughout the show. The cast was, the people coming into court were obviously going to change. The jurors and whatnot. That was not enough for me. I did not like Harry in any way, shape, or form. He was, the whole zaniness of the show was too zany for it to be court. Like, I think that the proper way to do a sitcom like this is to kind of play it straight. Like if everybody else is just playing it straight and Harry's kind of over the top but subdued a little bit, I think it works more. But that's just my personal opinion. That's just the type of humor that I like. But I didn't like Harry, and not for nothing, I don't want to watch a show where the main character I don't like. So it has pieces, but not enough for me. Cancel.
Yeah, so for me, when I started the episode at first, the first few minutes, I was like, oh, here we go. It just wasn't my style. I don't know. It wasn't vibing with me. Shows like of this nature, court settings, kind of dry, don't work for me typically. But as I watched it, it was really, for me, kind of opposite Gordo. Harry Anderson's performance and his character alone is kind of what flipped it for me. So I thought there was like a real charm about him that I really liked. Now, I think a lot of the gags were a little too much, but I thought like just overall, he came off super likable and he was someone you rooted for. And you kind of like his kind of placement in the situation where he's bringing humanity to an area that doesn't typically have it. I found myself enjoying it more as the episode went on. So for me, I'm going to give it a green light because I think there was enough there for me. And I came in as blind as anyone. I really knew basically nothing about the show going in other than it existed.
2 Sheckies out of 5.
Ooh, no, all right, never mind. 1. No. So that's going to be a 2 out of 5. So sorry to Night Court, actually. So despite a near 200 episode run and a successful 9 seasons, you're not getting the green light from us. Sorry about that. But thank you to all that listened. Welcome to anyone who's new to us. Again, go to S1E1pod.com. I want to remind you guys again, leave us a 5-star review. We will follow you on any social media of your choosing as a thank you. Mainly Instagram and X, not so much Facebook. We don't like actively use Facebook, so we don't have friends on there.
What happens if it's OnlyFans?
Stop. So in any event, thanks again, guys. Catch us again next week for another new episode. Until then, thank you. Goodbye.
I think we got the best never-ending snake gun.